Hey everybody, welcome back to Everything MTG. My name is Justin. His name is Mario. And today we're going to be going over this wonderful bag that I got here from my local game store. Went out and picked up some paraphernalia that has multiple meanings for some Magic the Gathering gameplay that's going to be going on tonight. So let's go ahead and unbox it really quick. Picked up a 60 card Boulder case. Got some Nidhogg Art Dragon Shield sleeves. Now, it doesn't say that these are matte on here, but I have heard that these are matte. Somehow they're matte and they managed to get this artwork on it. Pretty cool, right? Looks pretty neat. And then, of course, another playmat. Yes, another playmat. I think that makes 5 now. So, we've got a pretty cool looking foresty playmat. It was between this or a plains playmat, and forest just way cooler, you know. That's just how it goes. So let's start off with busting open this playmat here, because I want to see what it looks like in person. So we'll go whoop, get rid of this guy. Whoop, tokens flying everywhere. Look out. We don't even want to see the other end of this table. It's a disaster. Alright. Let's roll this bad boy out. Shazam! Let's get a little off the table action here and take a look at it. Looks pretty cool. Feels really nice. Feels really nice. Might have to turn this video off for a second. Nah, JK. No, it does feel nice though. Pretty cool. Got the Magic logo up there. Ultra Pro down here. Not sponsored. Wizards of the Coast. Also not sponsored. But hey, if you want to, don't hesitate. Alright. So that's pretty nice. That will play right into this deck box. So, okay, it holds 80 plus cards. I guess that makes sense. A 60 card deck plus sideboard, and then if they're sleeved up, it'll probably hold all that. Got the gold one because it was the only one they had, unfortunately. You know, another color would be preferable, but take what you can get, right? So if you guys do not know about the Ultimate Guard boulders, they are, I would consider, pretty top of the line deck boxes for, you know, any TCG. It doesn't have to be Magic the Gathering, but I use them for Magic the Gathering. We have here the 100 card, which I use for my Commander deck. And there, of course, is the 80 card. And these things are pretty darn sturdy. I mean, you can drop this thing, nothing's going to happen to it. You can stack them on top of each other. Wouldn't recommend stacking that one on that one. But if you want to stack that one on that one, it'll work out just fine. They're nice and small, slim profile. You can see through the front in case you forget which Commander deck you have in there. You just take a look. Oh, hey, look, it's Erebos. Now I remember. Or is that... Yeah, that's Erebos, right? I have the blue one. Here's the blue one. It's got Edgar. You can see him really well in there. Look at that. So that's cool. Anyways, it'll hold 60 cards. See if I can just... I got a handful of cards here just falling all over the place. Let's throw them in there. Look at that. Holds a nice little selection of cards there. They're all bent to hell. And then there's no edges in here for them to catch on anything. It's really great. You just kind of scoop them in there. Close that bad boy up. And you're good to go. Now, if you have it sleeved up in here, you know, they won't shake around when you have a full deck in here. This obviously isn't a full deck. But you can really shake this bad boy around. They're not going to come apart, but they are easy enough to pull apart. So that's pretty nice. So I like that. I'm going to put that bad boy to the side. And then we will check these Nidhogg sleeves out. So let's go and bust these open. Take a look here. There are 100 sleeves in here. Looks pretty neat. Check out that art. Pretty cool guy. Nidhogg, I believe, is from like the Odin kind of mythology. Can't remember what that's called. Norse mythology? Yeah. You think I would know. I play a bunch of MMOs, and Norse mythology thing is kind of my thing, you know, Freya and all that. But sometimes names escape me, and by sometimes I mean frequently. You might know that if you watch my channel. So take a look at the front. Oh, snap. Segueing into a deck tech. Look out. So So we ended up buying all this stuff here because Amanda is playing her Slimefoot, the Stowaway Brawl Deck tonight. So she wanted a new mat to play on. She is going to be housing it in this deck box and using these sleeves. So I went ahead and sleeved it all up. Figured we'd do a quick deck tech, and you guys can let us know down in the comments what you think, if you have any suggestions. This will be her first time playing Brawl, so she has not play tested this. She's not sure how it's going to work out, but we'll see. So for those of you that don't know, Brawl is a 60-card singleton format, much like Commander. In multiplayer, you start with 30 life. In single 1v1 Brawl, you'll start with 20 life. They actually changed it, so the ban list is different from the standard ban list. All the cards in a Brawl deck have to be different, and they all have to be from standard. So your typical standard cards aren't banned anymore. Ramanop Ruins is in here. Smuggler's Copter is still banned. Baral, Chief of Compliance, is banned as well. He is now banned in Commander, if you guys have not heard. And Sorcerer's Spyglass is also banned. Other than that, everything else is legal. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get into this deck tech here. There's like a little thing in there. It's driving my OCD crazy. Alright, so Slimefoot the Stowaway. 1 green, 1 black, and 1 for a 2/3 fungus. When a sapperling you control dies, Slimefoot the Stowaway deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. You can then also pay 4 colorless and create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. So this focuses strongly, this entire deck, on creating sapperlings, having them either get big or die, and attritioning your opponent. So let's go ahead and get into it. We got Spore Crown Thallid, 1 green and 1 for a 2/2. Each other creature you control that's a fungus or sapperling gets 1/1. So that's just a really nice little pump-up action. All those 1/1s that you're going to be getting from that are going to be 2/2s. If people decide they don't want to block because they don't want to take the 1 life and give you 1 life, you can just hit in for a bunch of damage. If they do block it, it dies. Totally fine. Doesn't matter. They lose a life, you gain a life. Great, great, great things. And then we're just going to go through the package of not necessarily sapperlings themselves, but they create sapperlings. As you can see, this was a fungus. And this also does pump up other fungus. So this guy here is a fungus. He would get this +1/+1 as well as all your sapperlings. So he's a... Yeah, and of course, Slimefoot himself is a fungus. So he'll get pumped up as well. So this is a 3/2. When it dies, you create a 1/1 sapperling. Nice and simple. Here's another fungus, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 sapperling. Dinosaur, totally almost unrelated. 2 green and 3 for a 4/4 with Enrage. Whenever Overgrown Armasaur is dealt damage, create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. So it is themed around this. It's a little off flavor. Not entirely sure it's going to work, but figured we'd try it out. 4/4 for 5 isn't terrible, and with the Enrage ability, you can really swing in. If it dies, okay, whatever. You get a 1/1. It seems all right. And then here's where we get to the big boys. This is what this deck really revolves around. It's 5 and 3 green for a 7/7 elemental, Verdant Force. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. So that's going to be your upkeep, your opponent's upkeep, your second opponent's upkeep, and your third opponent's upkeep. If you have 4 players in a Brawl game, you go the whole way through your rotation back to your turn. You've created 4 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens. I mean, that's absolutely nuts. You're going to be creating so many tokens. Now, this guy does cost a lot, and he is heavy into green. But you do have a 7/7. You're going to be getting those sapperlings. It's going to be getting pumped. Really nice. So we'll move on to the second big player of this deck, Thundershoot Dryad. 4 and a green for a 2/2. Dryad, of course, has Ascend. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token, much like Verdant Force. Much cheaper. Also a lot weaker. But the second part of this text is sapperlings you control get 2/2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. So that's really going to go well with this Spore Crown Thallid. All of your sapperlings could be looking at +3/+3. And then you're creating potentially 2 sapperling tokens at the beginning of every upkeep. This one is also at the beginning of every upkeep. So you're creating a lot of sapperling tokens. It's just a shame he's not a fungus. So we'll move on. So that was our suite of creating sapperlings. And then we're going to get into the way to sack them to get the +1 life and make your opponent lose 1 life off of Slimefoot the Stowaway. So the first one that made the most sense was Bantu, of course. 2 and a black for a 4/6 legendary god. Has menace, has indestructible. Fantastic. Can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn. Not a big deal. You're going to be swinging in with a lot of little chumps. The biggest thing what you want to do is the 1 in black. Sack another creature. You get to scry 1. Each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. And then with Slimefoot, if you sack a sapperling, they lose another life and you gain another life. So you're going to get to scry, they're going to lose 2, and you're going to gain 2. Now, the only unfortunate thing is this costs 1 and a black. So kind of unfortunate that you have to, spend mana for it. But you can sack 1 just to get the swing in here, get the benefit from that and this, a little scry action. You get the 4/6 swinging menace indestructible. I mean, that's really great. So we're going to move on to, of course, Yahenni also made a lot of sense. 2 and a black for a 2/2 legendary Aetherborn vampire with haste. Really great. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on him, and then you can sacrifice another creature and he'll gain indestructible until end of turn. So with all these little sapperlings that we want to be sacrificing, looking for engines that you don't have to pay for, much like Yahenni, you can sack any amount of sapperlings at any point in time to make your opponent lose life and gain life in response if you need to. Maybe you're getting hit for a lot of damage or your opponent's close to being dead. Additionally, if somebody's trying to wipe the board with some damage, sack your sapperling, give him indestructible, he's good to go. You can block in response, kill one of their creatures, pump him up. Really great. So they'll end up losing a bunch of life. This guy's pretty much unremovable unless they want to waste like a Vraska's Contempt for exile or something like that, or a shutdown effect like Water Knot or something weird in blue. I really like this card for this deck. We have Thallid Omnivore, 3 and a black, 3/3. You can pay 1, sack another creature, and then this creature will get +2/+2 until end of turn. If a sapperling was sacrificed this way, you gain 2 life. Really great. So you only pay 1, you sacrifice a sapperling, you can gain 2 life off this, hit him for 1 on Stowaway, gain 1 on Stowaway, and then this gets 2/2 until end of turn. This is also a fungus, so it's going to play really well with the Spore Crown Thallid, giving it that +1/+1 to sapperlings and fungi. So this guy can easily be, a 6/6 for a turn anyways. Really great. And then, of course, for a little card draw, we are in green and black, so there's some card draw, not a lot. 3 and a black for a 2/3 fungus, of course. We want that tribal, we want that pump up. Pay 2, sack a creature, draw a card. Of course, we want to be sacking creatures to something like Thallid Omnivore or Bantu for that additional effect of losing the life or getting the ++ until end of turn. But in case we might need to draw some cards, we can sacrifice to this Thallid Soothsayer. And then, of course, because of Slimefoot, they will end up losing the life anyways. So that is a great little draw engine we have there. So that covers our sack package. And then we're going to get into just some things that kind of work because we're going wide with a lot of tokens. First one's going to be Ghalta Primal Hunger. 2 green and 10 for a legendary Elder Dinosaur. Yes, 2 green and 10. This costs 12. That is a massive amount of mana. 12/12, really great. Has Trample, even better. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. So this guy can easily get put out on the board. You can have, 5 sapperlings, and they're all, well, I guess you could technically have 4 sapperlings, and they're all getting +2/+2 from the Dryad. And then they're 1/1s already. So easily you can pump this guy out. Or if you have 10 of the tokens, not unheard of. You can pump this guy out so quickly. I think this is a great addition to the deck. I know it's off flavor, but it just seemed like it made a lot of sense. Our second one that kind of gets a little pump action from going wide here is the Mausoleum Harpy, 4 and a black for a 3/3 flyer. She does have a send. This is a Harpy. Whenever another creature you control dies, if you have the City's Blessing, put a 1/1 counter on her. So this can get some really good synergy with, once you have a send, you're sacking a bunch of things to either draw cards or scry with Bantu to hit them for life. You're hitting them with Slimefoot, and then every time you sacrifice one of those saps, you're getting +1/+1 counters on this flyer. And this is already a 3/3 flyer. Not bad. So that's really good. So that covers the things that get a little pump up from going wide. Then we're just going to get into a little bit of ramp. Skittering Surveyor, 3-drop, 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. Nothing too great there, just to get some extra lands. Of course, we have Llanowar Elves. It's a green deck. You always put Llanowar Elves in a green deck. So your typical 1 green, 1/1, tap, add green. And then a little bit of recursion here with Whisper Blood Liturgist. I think this card is personally amazing. It could be really great for this deck as well. So he's 3 and 1 black for a 2/2 legendary human cleric. You can tap him and sacrifice 2 creatures to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this deck is going to rely a lot on Verdant Force and the Dryad to be getting all those Saprolings. There are other ways to get them, but those are our main ways to get them. So if they get pitched into the graveyard from a kill spell or a discard spell or something like that, we want to be able to get them back. This seems like the best way to do it. We can tap this guy, we can sack 2 Saprolings, they'll lose life off Slimefoot, and we will get back our more powerful card that's making more Saprolings. So that's really, really great. Excuse me. The only bad thing about this is he doesn't have haste, and he does have to tap for this. So if your opponents are smart, they will attempt to remove this if they know that you're trying to get back a Verdant Force or something crazy. So you will have to watch out for that. He is only a 2/2. He could easily be hit with like a Magma Spray or something, low damage, easy to cast, 1-drop. Got to watch out for that. So we're going to move on a little bit. These creatures are just kind of your, I guess good stuff creatures. Filigree Familiar, 3-drop, 2/2, enters the battlefield, gain 2 life, dies, draw a card. Nothing major there. We've got Ravenous Chupacabra, 2 black and 2 for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Just a little bit of removal with the body. Not too bad. Thrashing Brontodon, this is the exact same thing. As I said, a little bit of removal with the body, except this focuses on artifacts or enchantments. So it's 2 green and 1 for a 3/4, which is already a pretty good trade-off there. And then you just pay 1 to sacrifice them to destroy target artifact or enchantment. You got those pesky, and I'll point it out now before I get to it, you got those pesky enchantments, which turn into pesky lands. And you'll want to get rid of that stuff with Thrashing Brontodon. Or maybe your opponent's playing a Mox Amber, or they're playing Gilded Lotus. You want to stop them from ramping out so hard. Boom, there's your boy, Thrashing Brontodon, taking care of it. So we're going to go ahead and get into our sorceries. This is how we're going to get a lot of our other Saprolings. So Sapling Migration is 1 green and 1, kicker 4 of course. Create 2 1/1 green saps. If it was kicked, create 4 of those instead. Not entirely too difficult to kick this. You can play it early if you just really need them, or you can play it late game. So good early or late game spell. Grow from the Ashes. This is a little more ramp. So we got the green and 2 with a kicker 2. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, untapped, shuffle it. If this spell was kicked, instead search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, untapped, and shuffle. Not too bad. Of course, we do want to focus on sacrificing our Saprolings and attritioning our opponents, but sometimes we're going to have a lot of them on the field, and we might have this card show up. We can go wide, and we can get in for a lot of damage. Overcome, 3-drop, 2 green, sorcery. Creatures you control get 2/2 and gain trampled until end of turn. So you got some 1/1 saps, you pump them up to 3/3s, they all got trample. Your opponents are looking at a lot of damage, especially if you have Spore Crown Thallid out, give them all 1/1s, or the Dryad out, give them all 2/2. Can get pretty ridiculous pretty quickly. Little more removal, 2 black and 1 for never, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Hitting planeswalkers in this format seems to be a good idea, because you can play them as your commander in Brawl, or you can play them as your leader in Brawl, unlike as in Commander where you cannot do that. And a lot of things only hit creatures or players, they won't hit planeswalkers, especially with the new rules update where they made the distinguish between any target and player or creature. So hitting a creature, even though it's at sorcery speed, also being able to hit a planeswalker was very important. The other part of this is not really on flavor, and it's not really why the card was chosen, but it's 1 black and 3. You can do it because it is black. Aftermath, exile target card from a graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie. Maybe your opponent's playing Muldrotha. Maybe they're recurring some crazy thing over and over again. You want to get rid of it. There you go. Just a nice little side way to do that. A little more destruction, 1 green and 1, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it gives you a little bit of ramp if you have a land in hand. You can play an additional land onto the battlefield when you play this card. So not too bad. Still trying to take care of those pesky enchantments before they turn into pesky lands. This one, not entirely sure about. Figured we'd play it to see how it runs. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control. It's only 2 and a black, not really that expensive. And if you have a lot of tokens on the field, you can really hit each of your hits, each opponent. So you can really hit all of your opponents potentially for like 10. There are pitfalls to this. If somebody manages to minus all your tokens before this goes off, nothing will happen. So it's a little shaky. We'll see how it goes. We'll play test it and see what's going on. So we've got 2 legit artifacts in this deck. One of them is the Immortal Sun. You guys probably know what this card does. It's really ridiculously good. 6-drop, legendary artifact. Players can't activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities. Very important, especially now that Planeswalkers can be your lead or your commander. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card. Not bad. Spells you cast cost 1 less. Not bad. And creatures you control get 1/1. Little pump-up action for those Saprolings and everything else in the deck. And then, of course, the Gilded Lotus. Why not run this, right? 3 mana of any one color, that's very specific, but we do have heavy into green. I think the Verdant Force is 3 green, the Dryad's 2 green, the Brontodon's 2 green, so this is really, really good. And it'll work great with Slimefoot's secondary ability that lets you pay 4 and pump out saps because it's colorless. So this will work out great for that. Get into a little bit of our instants here. So 1 green and 1 for Heroic Intervention. You guys probably know what this card does. It's very good. Instant, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This does seem a little counterintuitive because we do want the tokens to die. Of course, we don't want them to be hexproof and indestructible, but sometimes you do need to save your commander or you have that Verdant Force out, you don't want it to die and they're trying to wipe the board or something. That's a great way to handle it. And this is for all your permanents. This is for your lands, this is for your planeswalkers, this is for your artifacts. It'll work for all of it. Really great. Expensive card, believe it or not. Spore Swarm, a little more of our Saproling tribal, how we're going to get our Saprolings beyond those 2 creatures. So 3 and a green instant, create 3 Saprolings, not bad. Fungal Infection, I'm not entirely sure on this card either. It's 1 black for an instant that gives target creature -1/-1. Not great, in my opinion, but it does create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. I don't think it should be in here, but Amanda does want to try it out to see if it works. Down in the comments below, give me your opinion on what you guys think of this card. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I guess we'll see what happens. And of course, Vraska's Contempt. As I was talking about earlier, being able to hit a Planeswalker in this format seems very important. For 2 black and 2, you can exile, no recursion. You can exile a creature or Planeswalker, gain 2 life on top of it at instant speed. It's done. It's not coming back. Very important. Great removal spell. And then, of course, we have our own Planeswalker. And I know this can get shut down with the Immortal Sun. So we got to be careful about playing around the Immortal Sun with this card. But Vraska is very good. 4 and a green and a black for a 6 loyalty Planeswalker. Her +2 is creates a 2/2 pirate creature token with menace. Not really that important. Her -3, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment, and you get a treasure artifact token that lets you tap it and sack it for any mana, 1 mana of any color. That's really important. There's your creature removal, there's your pesky enchantment removal, and your artifact removal. Seems really great. And then, of course, -10, which nobody ever expects to get to, but this will come in at 6, immediately be plussed to 8 if you plus it. So it would only take 3 turns, I suppose. Target player's life total becomes 1. Could be a game ender. Move on to our enchantments here. We do have a few enchantments. So Fungal Plots, 1 green and 1 enchantment. For 1 and a green, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a 1/1 green Saproling. There's a little more of that tribal aspect. Also sacrifice 2 Saprolings, you gain 2 life and draw a card. Really great. You sack 2 Saprolings, you gain 2 life here, you gain 2 life here, they lose 2 life here, and you draw a card. Really amazing. The first ability I'm not too sure on because we do want to be able to recur our creatures with some of those other recursion cards that we went through. So exiling a creature card from our graveyard doesn't seem great, but you could do it in response to somebody trying to exile your graveyard. But that's going to be saved mostly for cards that we don't really want to recur, maybe like Skittering Surveyor or Filigree Familiar or something like that, or like a late game Llanowar Elves, not needed anymore. That's what that's going to be for, but mostly this bottom ability here for the 2 life and draw. Have Path of Discovery, 3 and a green enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. So you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. If it's not, put a 1/1 counter on the creature, then put the card back on top or put it into your graveyard. So this is really great. All our Saprolings are going to come in with either a +1/+1 counter, or we're getting a little bit of card advantage by ramping those lands into our hand. Could be very, very good. I'm not super keen on this card, but again, Amanda wanted to try to play this. So the Eldest Reborn is a 4-drop and 1 black enchantment saga. Saga 1, each opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker. Saga 2, each opponent discards a card. And Saga 3, put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Just a little bit of a way to play with the game, I guess. If your opponents have a lot of tokens, this isn't going to help. This will be good, but this won't be great either. But if they have like 1 big fatty or 1 or 2 big stupid creatures on the field, or maybe even their commander, you can make them sack it at the very least. And then put target creature or planeswalker card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It does not have to be one of the ones that they sacrificed. It could be anything. So it is possible a planeswalker managed to get killed earlier, or a big stupid creature got killed, not from this card, and you can recur that. So that is decent. I'm still not sure about how I feel on the card. We'll see as time goes on. And of course, Song of Freyalise. This card is great for this deck. 1 and a green for another Saga. Saga 1 and 2 are both until your next turn. Creatures you control gain tap, add 1 mana of any color. Simply amazing for ramp, because if you have 5 tokens out, you can hit this for 2 turns in a row. You can tap all those tokens for 1 mana of any color. That's just simply amazing. You can ramp out your Dryad and stuff like that really early with this card. Additionally, this bottom one can help you get a finisher right out of nowhere real quick. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. All those Saprolings get 1/1 counters. They're pumped up from the Spore Crown Thallid and all this other stuff. It's crazy. And then those creatures also gain Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible until end of turn. I mean, that's absolutely nuts. They're trampling over. They got the 1/1 counters. They've got Vigilance. They don't even tap, and they're indestructible. So if people don't want to die, they're having to chump block, and they're dying to a bunch of tokens. Absolutely ridiculous. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and take this one out because this is one of those pesky enchantments we were talking about. Growing Rites of Itlimoc. Y'all probably know what this does, and it is amazing for this deck once it flips. So it's a green and 2 for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature from among them and put it into your hand. You put the rest of those cards on the bottom of your library in any order. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, which there is no doubt in my mind we will at almost all points of time in this game, you transform this boy. He flips into Babam, Itlimoc, Cradle of the Sun. Taps for green, that's great. We're a green-black deck. Tap, add green to your mana pool for each creature you control. That's right. This is the slightly worse Gaia's Cradle. Functionally similar Gaia's Cradle. This can be absolutely ridiculous. If you've got a bunch of tokens on the field, especially with Song of Freyalise, man, you can tap for some serious mana with that bad boy. You can really be ramping out your top-end stuff. And then this is our last card before we go into the lands. So I'm going to take this one out as well. This is another pesky enchantment. Journey to Eternity, 1 green, 1 black, and 1 for legendary enchantment aura. You enchant a creature you control, and when that enchanted creature dies, you return it to the battlefield under your control, and then return this card to the battlefield transformed under your control. Now that's really great for something like throwing it on Thrashing Brontodon, immediately sacrificing it to blow up their enchantment, and then bringing it back to the field so you could do it again if you want, and this flips. That's what this card is for. It can very easily jump on a token or something that we can sacrifice and flip immediately, or it can be protection for your commander or your Verdant Force or your Dryad. Really great. Now, what it flips into Also not bad. Atzal, Cave of Eternity. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Great dual land there. 3, a green and a black. Tap it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Not to your hand, straight to the battlefield. Yes, that costs 5, but with our Gaia's Cradle and the Song of Freyalise, this card can be absolutely ridiculous. This is just another great way to recur our Verdant Forest and our Dryad in case they do get killed, because they are such big players for our game. So I think this card's really going to stand out. We'll see how it does. So we'll wrap this up by going into our land suite. Of course, we're playing Evolving Wilds, a little bit of filter action. Oh, speaking of those pesky lands we were talking about earlier, here's Field of Ruin. Taps, add colors to your mana pool. Meh. You know, it's another land. 2, tap, sack it, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Each player searches his or her library, each player, including you, for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield untapped, and then shuffles his or her library. It's unfortunate to give, especially if you're trying to stop one player from doing something, to give everybody an extra untapped land. But sometimes you need to take care of Hadana's Climb or a, a Growing Rites of Itlamok, once it flips. You cannot let those stick around, and this is a great way to take care of that. Oh, here, let me blow up your Gaia's Cradle and give you a basic forest or something. I mean, it definitely pays off. So that's why this bad boy's in there. Of course, we have a couple tap lands. Your typical tap land, Blooming Marsh, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. And Woodland Cemetery enters the battlefield unless you control a swamp or a forest. I was considering playing the cycle lands, but I'm not sure how many lands I want to have coming in tapped. Not entirely sure. We'll see. We'll see how the deck runs with this mana base. So Memorial to Folly, this is another bit of recursion. It does come in tapped. It does tap for black. For 2 and a black, we can tap it and sack it to return target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. Important for getting back the Verdant Force, the Dryad. I guess if Slimefoot dies enough times and you don't want to pay his commander tax, you could do this with that as well. But this just seemed like a nice little way to be able to, help out with that. And then we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swamps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forests. So it looks like, what is that, 24? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2. Okay, 22. I counted a little bit off. 22 does seem low for this deck. Amanda feels like 22 is the right amount. I don't know. There are a lot of high drops in this deck, but with the amount of ramp that's in there with Song of Freyalise and Growing Rites of Itlamok, I think that could be overcome. I don't know. I feel like 23 might be a little more appropriate, but she is going to play test it in a little bit. We'll try it out and we'll see how it goes. Boop. We'll finish this video up by popping this bad boy in here. See how it fits sleeved up and everything. Easy. Look at that. You can fit more than one whole finger length in there for a sideboard, or if you want a double sleeve. Then you just round them up like this. Sitting on the edges, catch or anything, goes right in there. You can kind of see it if it focuses there. Yeah, you can see it. Not bad. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. We might upload some gameplay of us playing a brawl match once I get my personal brawl deck built. I haven't started on it yet. Just been lazy with it, I guess. I've been doing a lot of schoolwork and doing a lot of work. And of course, making some YouTube videos for you guys. So let us know what you think about this deck down in the comments below. Any suggestions you guys might have, criticisms, whatnot. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a fantastic day. Till next time.